Welcome to our tutorial on creating effective reminders. Reminding your clients when they're due for service and reminding them of upcoming appointments is an important part of running a successful piano service business, but it's a grind. It's a nonstop, tedious task that you need to somehow slip into your busy schedule every day, if it happens at all. There's no need to live life with this weight on your shoulders. Gazelle automates this tedious task so that you can focus on your craft. You'll send the right message to the right customer at the right time automatically. These reminders are highly customizable, but we have templates that make it easy to get started from scratch. So let me show you how to do it. First, I'm going to walk you through how to use our templates to quickly get started. And then the second half of this tutorial is going to walk through all of the customization that you can do if you want to dig in a little deeper. But it's perfectly fine to just use our templates and get started quickly. So first, let me show you how to get started using one of our templates. Go over here to Settings, and then click on Edit next to Reminders, and click on the Add button right here to add a new reminder. Now this is going to pull up our wizard, which asks you which of our templates to use. Now you can always build this yourself from scratch, but we recommend using one of our templates because we've set up some sensible defaults as far as when and how often to remind people, and given you some language that you can use and customize in your messages reminders. So here we have the three different templates that we have. And you can always get started on your own by clicking down here to customize your own reminder, but we recommend using one of our templates because it's a lot faster to get started that way. This first one here is our introduction template. This is for a little bit of a unique use case. This is for when you first get started with Gazelle, you may want to tell all of your customers that you're starting with a new system. So using this template will create a reminder that just sends them one email that says, it's kind of a softball email that just says, we're starting with a new system. Click here if you want to get started now to schedule. Otherwise, we'll contact you when it's time for your piano to be serviced. Now, we've had a lot of people do this, and we had one customer. This is one of my favorite stories. We had a customer who signed up. He had about 1,000 clients in his database, but he was struggling to fill his schedule because he wasn't very good and wasn't very consistent with sending reminders. And so what he did, we imported all of his clients into here, and he sent this introduction email to all 1,000 of his customers. Overnight, the next morning, he woke up and basically the next 3 or 4 weeks of his calendar were full. People had clicked the self-schedule link and booked appointments overnight. He was ecstatic. So that's one of the reasons we recommend using this, especially if you haven't been very consistent about contacting your customer base in the past. But then once you're done with that, we usually recommend just leave that on for 2 or 3 weeks. And then after a couple of weeks, then switch your people over to a different reminder. And these two over here are our typical templates that will remind people of pianos being due for service. They'll remind them of appointments coming due, all of these kinds of things. So the two that we have are Grow My Business and Minimal Contact. Let me walk through the Grow My Business one. Let me show you how this works. So in this example here, you can see when a piano is due for service, down here at the bottom is what this chart does. So 2 weeks before they're due for service, we'll send them an email, send them a text message, and schedule a phone call to be called. If they respond to any one of those, then we stop all of the future reminders about their piano being due for service as soon as they schedule an appointment. But if they don't respond to any of those, then 2 weeks later, on their due date, when they're due for service, we're going to again send them an email, a text message, and schedule a phone call. A week later, we're going to schedule another phone call. A week later, we're going to schedule an email and a phone call to go out. And a week after that, another phone call. So as you can see, this is pretty aggressive. About once per week, we're going to be contacting them in some form or another and trying to get them to book their appointment here for the first month. After the first month, they still have not scheduled. So we are going to then send them an email. And then after 15 days, so about 2 weeks, we're going to send them a text message. And then about 15 days later, we're going to send them an email. And then after that, we're going to start reminding them once a month. We're just going to send them an email. So we're kind of backing off over time. And then it just keeps backing off further and further. So as you can see here at the very beginning, this first month, it's tightly scheduled to really try to get them to book the appointment when they're due for service. And we schedule all of our phone calls to happen then as well. Now, scheduling phone calls or text message or emails, those are all optional for you. You could just only send emails if you wanted, or only send text messages if you wanted, and not bother with phone calls. Now, our phone call reminders are not robocalls. We don't automatically do the phone call, but we have a call center that I'm going to show you a little bit later in the tutorial. And when they're due, when Gazelle sees that someone is due for a phone call, we will put them in your call center so that you then are reminded to call them. And in that call center, we show the reason and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so this is the more aggressive Grow My Business. And this is actually the one that we recommend. I say it's more aggressive, but we've actually found it's not too aggressive. Most customers are comfortable with this level of contact. If you are not, and you would prefer to contact your customers less frequently, then you can use this minimal contact. And this one is very similar to what we had before, but it's just not quite as often and not so many points of contact. So here at first, we will send an email and schedule a phone call. And then 2 weeks later, we'll send them a text message. And then a week after that, we'll send them an email. And then after that, we start emailing them or texting them about once a month and contacting them using various contact methods. So again, this still does contact them, but not quite as frequently. Okay, well, I'm going to use this Grow My Business one. So let me just click on this, use this template. And now it asks me if I want this email only or both text message and email reminders. So if you don't have texting set up on your Gazelle account, you could just do emails only, and that would be perfectly fine. In this tutorial, I'm going to show text messages as well. So I'm going to click on this, create this reminder, and I'm just going to go ahead and call this Grow My Business. We can give it another name if we want. Now, we've pulled in this template, and as you can see down here, this is the list of messages for different reasons that are going to go out. When I click on each one of these, it's going to show me the schedule for them, and I can customize the text of them. Now, we automatically check the textability of a phone number. So if you have text messages set up, we will automatically check if a phone number is textable or not. So you don't need to worry about that. You can just set your customers and add their phone numbers and set them to receiving text message reminders. If their phone can't get text message reminders, we won't send it to them. You don't need to worry about that. But this is really all you need to do to actually get started. You can see I just used a template, I pulled it in, and I'm using these defaults here. Now, in the next section of this, I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper into the details of this to customize it. But I want you to know that if you want, you can just use our default settings and get started right now. So if I were to do that, all I would do is click here to assign clients, and I could assign different clients to this reminder, and those clients would start getting this reminder right away. Okay, now I want to dig in a little bit deeper. There's a lot of settings and a lot of configuration that you can do with these reminders. And so I'm going to use this Grow My Business reminder as a base, but we're going to dig in a little bit deeper and go into some of the settings here. Okay, so this here is the list of all the different types of messages that can go out at various different times. So you can see here for pianos that are due for service, if there's an if we don't have enough information about the piano, this is the message that would go out. The information we need in order to schedule when it's due is mainly when the last date of service was. So if we don't know when the piano was last serviced, we can't schedule the next service. And so in this case, if we don't have that information, it puts them here. And in this case, we're saying that you're going to call them. When they're coming due for tuning, that means, let's say that their due date is December 1st. This would probably be November 1st through December 1st. They would be coming due for tuning. And we can word the email slightly differently in this case to try to get them to pre-book their appointment a little bit. Once they're due for tuning, so this would be after December 1st, we'll send these reminders. And then here we back off a little bit, and you can change the message and change the schedule as we back off as time gets further. Now, as soon as they schedule an appointment for this piano, we stop reminding them wherever they are in this cycle. We stop reminding them about the fact that they're due for service, and then start reminding them about the appointment that they've scheduled. And so down here, we have a bunch of different possibilities of how to remind them or when to remind them about appointments that are upcoming. So I'm going to walk through these in just a minute. So first, let me just jump in here to, let's look at the due for tuning state. So I'm going to click on this, and up here I've got email, phone call, and text message reminders, and I can customize the schedule and customize the emails for each of these. So over here on email, this is set to go out every 2 weeks up to 2 times as soon as they enter this state. And this state is when they're due for tuning. So when Gazelle sees that they are due for tuning, in the example I used earlier, this was December 1st. So starting December 1st, we're going to put them in this state, and every 2 weeks, we're going to remind them, we're going to send them this message. So one will go out immediately, and then 2 weeks later, the next one will go out, and we stop it at 2 times. Okay, so the message here, I can click on edit, and I can edit the text of the subject. I can use some of our merge codes here to customize the message a little bit, to make it a little bit more personal. And you can come in here and customize this text however you want. If you want to see a list of all of our merge codes that we have available, you can click up here. And so here's all the client merge codes. We can just copy these and put them into our email as we want. So I'll leave that as an exercise for you to read through these and see what merge codes are available. When you're done and you want to see how it's going to look, I can click on preview here, and this will give me a preview of what the message is going to look like. So in this case, it's going to John Doe. I'll say, hi, John, your piano is due for a tuning. And I can see with all my merge codes, this is what it's going to look like. Now you see I added a scheduling link right here, and that's going to go to our online scheduler, which lets them book their own appointments. Okay, so you could do whatever customizations you want. I'll leave that as an exercise for you. Let me cancel that out here. We also have this first message. So when they come into this state, you could send a unique message the first time, and then every subsequent message would be this standard message. If you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. You can just send out the standard message every time and just leave this first message blank. If the first message doesn't exist, then we will just use the standard message for all of them. Now, texting works the exact same way. I can set up a schedule for it. So in this case, it's going to say every month up to 2 times and 7 days after they enter this state. So on December 1st, in that example that I gave, Gazelle is going to say that they're due for tuning. So in this case, 7 days after December 1st, we're going to send them their first text message, and then we're going to send another one a month later. Okay, and the same way that I did before, I could edit the text of this, and I can put in some merge codes, and I can put in a scheduling link. Now, text messages are a little bit different than emails because they're typically shorter, so you want to make these really short, and you don't really have any option for formatting in here. So in texting, it's usually just text. You can't do bold or anything like that. And we usually do recommend you put who it's from, because this will be coming from your Gazelle phone number, and so that way they know they can have some name recognition there if they don't have that number in their contact list. Okay, now the phone call reminders are a little different. As I mentioned before, we're not going to automatically send a phone call reminder, but we are going to put a reminder to you to call them in your call center. So really, this is just about setting up the schedule of when you want phone call reminders to go out. Okay, so you can do this for each one of these states and set up the messages, customize the text, and set up the schedules for each of those if you want. Okay, so next I want to talk about the configuration for these. So if you go to over here, this was the messages tab. If I go over here to configuration, there's a lot of settings that you can do to customize this reminder schedule. So first up here is you can set the name for it. So let's say this is your typical one. You might call it Grow My Business or call it Standard. This might be my standard reminder. You could also have one that you do custom language for friends and family, or you could set up one that is for people who only have email and they don't want phone call reminders. Or you can set up different schedules and assign different clients to different reminders. So this is where you would name it to give it a name that you would recognize, and you can mark whether this is a default or not. The default reminder will get assigned to new clients that you create. If you don't set a default, clients will not get a reminder automatically. So we do recommend always setting a default so that new clients will be put on a reminder schedule so that nobody falls through the cracks. Okay, let me talk about appointment confirmation. So Gazelle's reminders have this feature called appointment confirmation. This is where once an appointment is confirmed, in this case, 2 weeks before the appointment, we're going to send them an email asking them to confirm the appointment. So in that email is going to contain a button where they can click it to confirm that they are going to be there at this appointment. It'll show the appointment date and time. This would be a great way to let them correct any mistakes, or if they forgot, and scheduled something else, they could contact you. This gives you plenty of time to fill your schedule. This is really useful if you pre-book appointments. So in the scenario where you're scheduling appointments 6 months or a year in advance, it's highly likely that they forgot about that appointment. And so you can send them a confirmation email just to remind them and to help prevent no-shows ahead of time. Then we also have what's called the critical confirmation window. So if they've not clicked to confirm the appointment within a certain amount of time, in this case 2 weeks, then 6 days before the appointment here, we're going to send a different email. And you can customize the text of this to be a little bit more urgent if you want, and saying, it's getting close. We've been trying to contact you. Please click here to confirm your appointment. Now, we also have this optional feature called cancel unconfirmed appointments. Now, this is a little bit aggressive as far as keeping your schedule tight, but if it's there if you want it, if you want to absolutely prevent no-shows and you've contacted them several times trying to email them, maybe called them, maybe sent them some text messages, depending on how you have these set up, and they still have not confirmed their appointments, you can check on this and it will cancel appointments that have not been confirmed. So let's say 1 day before the appointment, if they still have not confirmed it, Gazelle will cancel that appointment, send them an email that says, we regret that we've not been able to contact you to confirm the appointment. We've canceled it. And then in there is a button where they can click to reschedule their next appointment. So even in that case, we don't leave them hanging, but this will free up your schedule so that you can get a last minute appointment that is going to be there. So in this case, we're going to leave that off, but you could do that if you want. And then we also have the option to automatically confirm appointments that are created within a certain amount of time. So if I normally book appointments 6 months in advance and I want this appointment confirmation flow to happen, but if I book a last minute appointment for tomorrow, there's really no need for them to go through this appointment confirmation flow. So in that case, if I schedule an appointment within 6 days, I'm just going to assume that they're going to be there and no need to go through this appointment confirmation flow. Now, another handy thing about the confirmations are if somebody has not marked an appointment as confirmed, there will be a little yellow triangle on your calendar as it gets close. And as it gets, on the day of or a couple days before, if they're in this critical confirmation window, that little triangle will be red. So this is a way, even if you don't automatically cancel appointments, it's an indication to you when you're looking at your calendar that this customer has been contacted about confirming their appointment, but they haven't done it yet. So you might want to, before you take time to drive there, you might want to try to call them one last time to confirm that they're going to be there. It's just a handy little indication for you. Okay, let me move on down here. So the next configuration is when you want to consider something as coming due for tuning. So in this case, 2 weeks before the appointment, we're going to mark it as coming due for tuning. And this is when those coming due for tuning reminders are going to start going out. Okay. Next is enable due for tuning reminders. So and here you can customize the how far you want to stretch out the different tiers. So if after 6 months here we want to send them a stage 3 reminder, this is just a way to um, customize the language as the time gets further and further out. You may want to less aggressively contact them, maybe eventually just email them once a year with a soft email that says, we'd love to service your piano. Click here if you're interested. Okay, so that's all the settings under configuration and under the messages here. So we've walked through how to customize the language, how to customize the schedule for all of your messages, and we've shown how to configure this reminder based off of the settings that you prefer. So next I want to show the call center. The call center is where scheduled phone call reminders show up. So every day, or once a week, or however you want to do this, you might have an office assistant, or you might come in here that just checks these calls and gives phone call reminders. So just click up here on the call center. And down here is a list of people that Gazelle knows need to be reminded for some reason. In this case, we have 2 reminders that need to be called about an appointment coming up that needs confirmation. So we just click on one. Now notice this pulls up all the details that we need in order to contact this customer. So we've got the phone number right here and their name. And right here is the reason that we're calling them. So this is a critical confirmation because in a couple of days, we've got an appointment coming up and they still have not confirmed with us. So I'm going to try to get them on the phone, talk to them. If they confirm it verbally over the phone, I can just click this button right here, mark them as confirmed. But something else I want to show here is on this window, we also pull in all the client history, the timeline. So you can see all the past emails that we've sent, all the past service that we've done. This is just helpful to know. In this case, you could see how many times we've emailed them or different ways we've tried to contact them. This just gives you some context when you're calling them so that you can be a little bit more informed when you're on the phone call. But then when let's say I got her on the phone call and she said she is going to be there, I could just click here to mark this as confirmed. And then I'm done. So I move on to the next one. So as I've shown, Gazelle automates reminders so that you can give more attention to the parts of your business that can't or shouldn't be automated. This lets you increase the time you spend with customers who need that personal touch. And it gives customers a great experience that is consistent every time they book an appointment. It makes it easy for people to do business with you. As I showed, you can get started quickly using our templates, but you can fully customize these reminders and the schedules. By using these reminders, you'll cut out a lot of busy work from your daily routine. You'll have the confidence that you're sending out the right message to the right customer at the right time. You'll go from someone who's always stressed because you can't keep up with office work to someone who ends the day knowing they spent quality time with each of the customers that you connect with that day.